Hi everyone, my name is Daria and I'm happy to have Marek from vlayer as the guest for this interview. Marek is the CTO and co-founder of the vlayer project, and also he's an expert in verifiable data.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to be with you today.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So today we'll discuss the concept of verifiable data, the zero knowledge proofs, and building the startup of the new generation. I'm excited.
Likewise.
So, Marek, please share a short overview of your professional or personal background.
Sure. So I have technical background. I've been working commercially in IT for almost 20 years now, and specifically in the blockchain and Ethereum space for it's gonna be 7-8 years now. And yeah, it was very joyous time, and we've done a lot of exciting things. Among many other things, I co-founded a company called ETHWorks, which was a dev house dedicated to building only Ethereum-related things, mostly Ethereum, also some other blockchain-related things as well. And yeah, we've been lucky to work with some of the most interesting projects and most challenging technological challenges on the way. A small example, a small cherry on top, I co-founded a company with my wife, who is a graphic
nice.
designer, and she done a lot of great design work in the space. But among others, she designed Bitcoin.org, which was a Bitcoin website. That previous version was done by Satoshi Nakamoto himself.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of projects for top brands. I sold the company a little less than 3 years ago and been looking into zero knowledge. And one thing that I'm especially excited about throughout my career is developer tooling. While running ETHWorks, I built a few open source libraries, including Waffle, which became very popular framework for testing smart contracts. And now, again, vlayer is developer-oriented tooling. I'm going to mention that we're going to talk about verifiable data, so that's strongly related to cryptography. So I've been in the zero-knowledge space or this pragmatic cryptography that started developing really fast in the context of blockchain. I've been kind of trying to catching up with all the math and understanding all the concepts for 2 years now. And that's very exciting. I'm still kind of getting adjusted to all the new concepts.
It's really impressive. And what is vlayer? Can you explain the value of vlayer to the Web3 ecosystem?
So we extend Solidity smart contracts with new features. And the first 4 features are strongly related to external data. So the first 2 features are time travel and teleport. So time travel allows you to take your smart contract and put it back in time and interact with the blockchain like it was a specific block. So that's very useful if you want to, say, calculate what's the average balance of the account or what's the average price on Uniswap, DEX, whatever, over time. And a similar feature is teleport that allows you to teleport your smart contract to another chain so that you can interact with the other chain. So if you want to, say, calculate what is the aggregated balance of a person across, 3, 4, whatever the number of different chains. Another category is external data sources. And here comes web proofs and email proofs. So web proofs allows you to take data from the web, put that inside a smart contract. You can verify, authenticate the source of the data so you know it really comes from a certain site, maybe calculate some aggregates or whatever it is that you're interested in, and you can use it in the smart contracts. And exactly the same for the email, where you can take the real email, someone can send an email, or you can extract the email you received and put it inside.
So what do you do as a chief technical officer at vlayer? In addition to interviewing and to taking some photos for
that's
business media?
Occasionally I do interviews. Thankfully, my co-founder, CEO, Hubert, so he's taking most of them. So I'm both a chief technological officer and a product officer, or head of product, or whatever we call it. So I came up with the idea for the product. So those different ideas for verifiable data, they were kind of already in this cryptographic space for a while. The problem was that they were over complex. The security assumptions are kind of also non-trivial. And in many cases, you could either use very limited features regarding the email, or it was you need to use new exotic languages, right? So you would need to learn CIRCOM and what are the arithmetic circuits, or you would need to, best case, learn Noir, which is highly specialized language.
New language, I think, yes.
So the idea is, how about we take it all into Solidity, because if you're running a blockchain startup, you already have Solidity developers on board, so that you don't need to hire those new developers, or you don't need to train those developers. You don't need to extend your team, and put it in a way that is just really easy to use. So we're very close. We announced, I will just add that we announced alpha in November, early November, and we're moving to Q1. We're going to production. We're gonna announce the exact schedule
next year.
We're very early in this verifiable data space, and we're just getting started, and it's gonna be much more. This is kind of the first version. And what we think, the vector we want to move along with, is we're building this new smart contract infrastructure. So the way you write smart contracts now is you write a piece of Solidity, you put it on chain, and you send a transaction. But we see a lot of those big parts of those computations that now happens on chain could be happening off chain. And when that's the case, you can do so much more. And I give you one example. It's kind of it's not a perfect example per se of something that I would like to build tomorrow, but it's a good example. If you go to a bank and you want to get a mortgage for your house, let's say it's 30 years, it's pretty standard, 360 installments. So today, whether it's L1 or L2, it's just too much of computations. If you would like to pay a little bit extra, or you underpay, then you need to recalculate. It's Solidity and the gas prices today doesn't allow you to do such a simple calculations. So if you look at the whole DeFi space, the way it works is it's all working on this LP tokens, right? It's all proportions, and if you put a little bit token in, you get a little bit LP. So we built just a small subcategory of products that I think are possible. So bringing those external data sources and connecting it to our smart contracts, that's very exciting. And for me, it's like, imagine, there was no internet, and then there is internet. You have your mainframe, you have your local network, maybe you have network between universities, but it's closed. The external people don't have access. So for me, it's almost like, like reconnecting Web to the Web3 to the internet. We call it Web3, but it really was a Web
it's
free.
Small niche.
And now there's the opportunity.
Do you know any project similar to yours?
So when trying to put vlayer into category, there is not a single category that it's easy to put in because of this variety of different features. But one category is called coprocessors. So coprocessors are those extra processors you can connect on the side, and they can calculate something for you, and you can put results on chain. And then I think the first coprocessor, or the term coprocessor, was coined by Axiom. So they built something, I think over a year ago, maybe 2 years now, and that allows you to build like aggregates, like they can average or something. It was not general purpose. I think you can extend it with Hello 2, which is very low level language, but that was the first one. I think it's interesting to note also that Herodotus, I think, was the first one to use that for cross-chain communication, which would be the equivalent of teleport. They, on the other hand, build on Starkware stack, so if you want to customize, you need to do it in Cairo. But that was very interesting and inspiring project as well. And then there is, so that's one category, coprocessors, and then there is web proof and email proofs. I think that's just called verifiable data.
ZK email, maybe.
So there is a few different names that emerged. We didn't really agree on the naming in the industry. There is ZKTLS. I think it's a terrible name because for someone who's not in cryptography, that means completely nothing. And the zero knowledge is a different zero knowledge than we use in ZK rollups, which are not really ZK rollups, but succinct rollups. So there is a huge mess. And ZK email is also the other name for the idea that was the project actually built in privacy and scalability exploration. So this is basically part of Ethereum Foundation, and they were the first research project that experimented with this idea. I just want to mention that in terms of zk-TLS, we're building on top of a project called TLS Notary. It's also built on top of it's also built by a team inside privacy and scalability exploration. So we're great friends with them, and we're building on top of that. So our goal is not to. This is a public good project, so this is not a competitor or anything in this term, but quite the opposite. And it's similar with zk email. It is also a public goods project, and Ayush, who is running the project, is also our angel investor. Just shout out to Ethereum Foundation for doing all the great work, and I think it's really amazing.
Thanks for great explanation. So you mentioned zero knowledge proofs, and I want to ask you, how do you use zero knowledge proofs in vlayer, if you use them?
Yeah, we use them all the time. So the first and most important part where we use zero knowledge proofs is we do this private execution of smart contracts. So you have two types of smart contracts, two new types of smart contracts that we introduce: prover and verifier. And for anyone who heard about zero knowledge, it's instantly familiar. But the important thing is the prover is a Solidity smart contract like any other, but it doesn't execute on-chain. It executes off-chain. And it has all those superpowers, ability to parse web and email and go back in time and jump across the different chains and all that stuff. And this is really model that I think Mina innovated on, and later Alio took over, and Aztec is also using the model. Again, the difference is that all of them require specialized languages. In case of Mina, it was some circuit language, DSL in JavaScript, not to be confused with JavaScript, because you need to write circuits in JavaScript.
The problem of naming, yeah.
And then there is then there was Alio. They created their own language, Leo, and then there was Aztec that created Noir. Noir has a lot of traction, and we're great friends with Aztec as well. So Zach and Joey from the team are also our angel investors.
Oh, nice.
And so we love Noir. Noir is a great language, and we actually started working to build it all in Noir, and then we realized we can build it in Solidity, right? And solve the problem of hiring this two more extra developers for a startup. So that was very exciting. And so we're introducing this new model where you can execute that prover contract on the side and take the results of those computations on-chain to the verified smart contract, which is not a small contract. The only difference is you can take those results and verify them before using them. So the whole execution of the prover is happening inside zero knowledge, inside zk-VM. So that's the first place. And then zk is used all the way through the stack. So inside the zk-VM, aside from running EVM, aside from running the whole Ethereum virtual machine, we verify emails. So emails are signed by the servers on the way. So we can verify the signature, and that way basically authenticate or check their authenticity. Or we can create Merkle proofs of different variables in the smart contracts and effectively do a storage proof. So we can prove that a certain block value of the certain variable was, right? So whenever you're executing, you're time traveling or you're jumping to another chain, not only we kind of do the whole execution, but we also prove every single variable that you took was really there in that block, in that state. So it's all across the board. And then there are web proofs. So we're gonna go into this rabbit hole. I'll try to do it quickly, not to bore non-technical listeners. But the funny thing is, in web proofs, actually multi-party computations are used. So there is a witness to your communication, but the witness is blind, and he cannot see the content. So therefore, with web proofs, so web proofs are a lot like oracles. They take the web data and allows you to use them on-chain. But what they allow you to do, what oracles don't allow you to do, is take your private data. How about your bank account number? Or how about proving that you're following someone on Twitter? Or how about, doing all those different things that only you have access to?
Yeah.
But the problem is if we would like to do it with oracles, they would see our, security tokens. They could basically do whatever we want. If they could observe our communication, that would basically mean, they know our
data,
passwords or authentication token or whatever is the means to communicate. So the new type of cryptography comes in, multi-party computation. This is like different than zero-knowledge proofs, although it's one of those 2-3 big subfields of cryptography growing really, really fast now, thanks to all the money flowing to it from the blockchain space. And there is a blind witness, a blind oracle called notary, and he can sign what he sees without actually seeing that.
Okay, so that's zero knowledge.
So that's technically multi-party computation, not zero knowledge proofs. There is a little bit of zero knowledge at the end, kind of proving that what this guy, this guy was connecting, what the client was talking with the server, and this notary, what they've seen is the same thing, even though like he's in a plain text, he's in the actual content, and the notary only seen encrypted content. So there is a small zero knowledge proof at the end, tying one to another and saying, this is the same thing, just one is encrypted and one is decrypted, not kind of two completely decoupled things. Then there's a little bit more of the zero knowledge proofs, or a little bit less. And can be interactive or non-interactive. So zero knowledge all across the board, and even a little bit of multi-party computation.
Thank you very much. So I remember the previous year you organized ZK Warsaw during the Warsaw Blockchain Week. This year you organized Verifiable Summit. So why did you decide to change the focus, and what happened during this year?
I think zero knowledge is a very exciting space. But we see emergence of those new
niches,
new cryptographical primitives growing really fast. And zero knowledge is obviously one. That was the first one that blockchain community took and started working on. But there is also multi-party computation now. So the idea of multi-party computation is really simple. You take two computers, two different guys, and they spawn a virtual computer in between them that doesn't really exist. Just virtual computer, and this guy, he doesn't have access to the state or what's going on in this computer. This guy don't know what's going on to this computer. This guy can send data, guy can send data, and they both have access to the result. So that's exactly how notary works. Like they're kind of both sending data there, and they know the result, but you don't know, the content of the transmission is this input from one side. The second never sees the content, but they see the result, which is basically saying everything. I think there's been a lot of things happened in 2024 around multi-party computations. WordsCoin, they run a huge multi-party computation to anonymize the retina scans. They were trying to do it with zero knowledge. They didn't manage to, so they go for multi-party computation approach.
I didn't know.
Costnarks, there was a big announcement a few months ago because there was a main concern regarding privacy. So they were working to solve it, and Costnarks was announced just I think October or November. So this is this idea that you can build a zero knowledge but between the computers. So this is more like just general. You can think in a simple way like generalizing multi-party computations. So that's what MPC. All those use cases can be solved with MPC. And finally, there is fully homomorphic encryption. I think that's the one that's also, it's kind of the third one, but also growing fast. And then there is a TE, trusted trusted execution environments, and they were super unsexy when people started talking about it 2-3 years ago, and now they kind of coming sexy. Back. So that's funny how those fashion stages go. But the thing with TE, again, just in a few sentences, is this is hardware-based encryption. And the cool thing is you can execute something and don't have access to it, right? So it's happening on the CPU, memory is encrypted, everything is, inside silicon. And if you want to have access to that, it's all small atoms running on those, pathways. So it's really, really hard. And people didn't want to do that because it's hackable, because there is at least one major hack. Like most people probably don't even know that all the Apple CPUs M1, M2, M3, they all hacked. They're all secure enclaves are hacked, and this is like a public knowledge, but people don't talk about it as much as they should. And all the old versions of SGX, the Intel solution, is hacked. So all those things get hacked. They get fixed. They get hacked again, and so on. So it's a cycle. So initially, people want to. So there was a project, for example, Secret Network, that's supposed to do private transactions, but got hacked. People now think a little bit more in the direction, what if we can have something that is hacked only occasionally? So example, minor extractable value is like, what if we can have 99% of the time you cannot front run me? That's already a huge improvement. But if once a year it's hacked, then you can front run me, and that sucks. But
you can repeat and again.
But that's a limited impact, right? There's a lot of people now switching to cryptography. It's a very fast growing field, and it's very exciting. So on one hand, we were coming back to Verifiable Summit, we're looking for the name to cover the whole space. And the other thing is that there is the other thing is, we try to build verifiable data, which is kind of related, but also a little bit different topic. So that name covered both the broader cryptography space and what our core interest is.
Yeah, I really like that event. It was super technical, but nice organized, and everything was super great. Yeah, so not typical crypto event, and even not average blockchain event. So it was very...
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. We try to keep it technical.
Very high quality of speakers, and the community is great.
Thank you. I'm happy that you like it.
It was really cool. Okay, so can you share your experience being part of A16Z crypto accelerator? Share your experience.
I'm super happy to do so. A month ago, we announced our pre-seed round. Yeah. It was $10 million in total, led by A16Z CSX. So what's A16Z? A16Z, most of the people who are in the crypto, Andreessen Horowitz, everybody knows the name. But what is probably less known, there is a CSX, it's an accelerator.
Yeah.
And those pre-seed deals, usually the way they do it is it's combined with the accelerator. And it takes 2 months. This edition was in New York City.
And in New York. I thought it was in London.
The previous one was in London. This one was in New York. So that was very exciting. It took 2 months. It was pretty intense. It was 2 days a week. The rest of the week was for working. But the day were pretty fully packed. It didn't seem at the beginning, when you look at the schedule, there was like 4 lectures, first day, 4 workshops the next, but it was very intense, and even when you have a free time, you would just need to decompress and kind of digest everything. And I think, it's pretty amazing, this A16Z. I mean, it's super brand. We didn't know what to expect because A16Z became so big, and they have so many investments. And crypto, by the way, A16Z crypto is the biggest part of A16Z.
Yeah, I know.
Right, A16Z is a huge fund, or a group of funds, really.
Yeah, investing in
in
AI, in
AI,
healthcare,
software as a service. Gaming. They have a huge gaming division. They have now new interesting funds. But A16Z is still the biggest. A16Z crypto is still the biggest part. So we didn't know what to expect, but it was really great. I think, so there was a lot of 8 weeks, so 8 different areas, 8 different topics. And it's, so for example, on technical topics, I was pretty bored because I already been in a space long enough to know all that stuff. But there were always interesting guests. There was a CEO of Uniswap, CEOs of Optimus, of Eigenlayer, you know, like top of the game CEOs. Everybody who talked was like a legend in the industry. And there was also a lot of lectures that were pretty basic. But when you think about it, it's like there's very few people, like crypto became so complex, there's very few people who can understand all the different aspects of it. And for me, for example, crypto economics or go-to-market, they were like, or marketing, they were really eye-openers in a sense. Like a general idea was that about, but it was all very blurry. And in those 2 hours, you could kind of structure that and understand this is important, this is important, this guy know how to do it, this guy doesn't know, you know, like you can see how it works, this is how to think about it as a high level, and this is kind of how to distinguish a good from bad one and so on. Recommend to any startup who wants to do something important in crypto.
Okay, so you got investments after finishing this accelerator?
It's a combination. It's a combination. You get into accelerator, the standard deal is $500,000. We were a little bit further down the road, so we were able to negotiate a bigger deal. A16Z still invested around $6 million, and the rest was coming from 2 other investors that committed before A16Z.
So when you apply, you understand that if you approved, anyway, you'll have like $500,000.
Yes, that's the minimum amount, yeah. So this is really kind of inspired by Y Combinator, which has very similar structure in terms of the intensivity of the lectures and in terms of structuring the deal.
Was it difficult to apply and be approved to this accelerator? How long did it take?
So that would be really a question to my co-founder, Hubert, who was closing the deal. It definitely took us some time and convincing. I think we were lucky a little bit because we were just pivoting, just as Hubert was going to talk to the VCs, we were pivoting from Noir to building in Solidity, building this full EVM execution. And we didn't really have much to show. It happened that the key person was going on a holidays. It was like June, July. And so we have the whole month to generate progress and then kind of see, no, hey, this is what we had when we started again. So I think there was a little bit of luck. This luck because
that's the disadvantage
because we kind of decided to pivot in the not very good strategic point of time, but in the same time, just because someone was going, I think that was like they were impressed how much we were able to do in 1 month in the new technology and all that stuff. I think was the key factor. That being said, there was a lot of great teams, and there was 20 teams in the accelerator. 20, so that's a lot of teams. But a lot of them related to cryptography, a lot of them related to tooling or layer 2s. And everybody had a very innovative idea, or most of them have very innovative idea, or at least some clever way how to do something important. So that was really great also, just being among all those different founders.
I wanted actually to ask you the main topics or maybe like the main focuses of these teams from this accelerator. Were there any DeFi applications or applications for end users? What was the focus in your accelerator scope?
There was one DeFi.
Only
DeFi,
one?
I think only one I can remember, I can think of. They will allow you to short stable coins. So that was pretty cool idea.
Okay.
That was pretty cool idea, I thought. There was, I think there was one NFT project. There were some radical ideas about what to do with NFTs. But most of them was, there was, I think, 1 or 2 L1s, 1 or 2 L2s. There was a Polish project or half Polish project, T1 also. So I met Orest, with whom we originally co-founded ZK Warsaw over 2 years ago. And was it that long? Wow. And so that was part of it. But there was, for example, there was a Cosnarks Tasio project. So that was really interesting. They were working on very fundamental cryptography. They actually worked with WorldCoin earlier. So they were like big on this MPC thing. And they were building actually Noir compiler. So the Aztec compiler to MPC. So this is kind of all
the world is small. Yeah,
all roads lead to some weird cross section. There was an interesting gaming startup that allows you to verify with zero knowledge if the player cheated, for example.
Well, let's talk about verifiable summer. Now we have winter, cold winter. But what can you say about verifiable summer, and when do you expect it?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's already early spring. So a lot of people are asking, what is this blockchain really about? It's all about speculation, right? And why is blockchain really interesting, and why we should care? I think the way to think about it is every now and then, every decade or so, there's a new computational platform coming in. There used to be mainframes, personal computers, internet, mobile phones. And when mobile phones, we say, mobile have peaked, right? There is every iPhone, every year iPhone is the same. It's very interesting that when a mobile came out, like the first smartphones showed up, like iPhone and Android, they were very limited. If you think about them as a computational platform, like how do I put my big old spreadsheet inside, this little screen, right? But it was not important that they had limited, small screen and limited computational resources. What was important, they have a GPS and camera, so you can build Uber, you can build Instagram, things you couldn't build with personal computers because you don't carry them around. So, and the blockchain has this really new interesting feature, which is trust. You can now build, you can build money, right? You can build Bitcoin without central bank, without governance, without police, without armies and all that stuff. It's working, right?
Yeah.
And, Ethereum came with smart contracts and the whole DeFi thing happened. And we have this MVP. I would call DeFi an MVP, minimum viable product of the alternative financial system. So we have a global financial system with dollar and ruble and Chinese yen and euro and all that stuff. And it's all heavily intertwined. And, big powers are fighting over who has more power in the system. But here, and it's not a very good system, many people would argue, because the inflation, people
we know what's happening.
We all know what's happening. We all, everybody is to some degree unhappy about what's going on with the world economics. Yeah. So we build a small system, very small in comparison to that one, that is alternative. It has all its own exchanges, its own lending platforms and all stuff. It never sleeps. It's really cheap in comparison. In many ways, it's still expensive in many ways. Like if you want to pay in the shop, it's expensive. But if you want to, lend $1 million, it's super efficient,
cheap and fast. Yeah.
So now the question is, can we take this new property of blockchain, this efficiency that comes from the class list, and apply to real world stuff?
Scale it.
And we were talking about, the centralized Uber and all that stuff for a long time now. I think we believe the missing piece was the fact that it was disconnected from the world, right? If you look at the Web2, it's heavily intertwined with our lives, right? It's, we order Uber, we order, shopping, pizza, we watch TV, we watch movies. There's no TV anymore, or listen to radio and podcast. You don't listen to radio. But then in the Web3, it's only isolated, right? Even the money is you don't pay with Bitcoin or even Ethereum in the shop, right? It's all isolated. You do your magic finance here, and then you bring it back. And then you
can pay by fiat.
Now, in 2024/25, now that finally we get rid of problems with regulatory problems because it was all gray. We have really put millions of users onto Ethereum, then the price would be arbitrarily high, and that obviously doesn't fly, right? But now with all the L2s, we're finally getting to much higher volumes.
Help scale it.
And it seems we're only scratching the surface. It seems we can do so much more. But now that we solve those two fundamental problems, we can go back to the utility and solve the utility problem. How do we build those decentralized applications? And we think the missing piece is verifiable data. How do we connect? How do we transfer our existing identities, government identities, or Twitter followers, or Amazon
Buyers.
what do you call it? The
Users. Buyers.
the
Customers.
your score that you were working, reputation. I was looking for the word reputation. So how do you transfer your existing reputation and stake this reputation here and use it? So we're really missing those basic connections. And it seems to me, if we can build those connections, we're gonna be able to build a very new, attractive, decentralized application, and it's gonna happen pretty soon. The technology is being cooked right now. A lot of those ideas, they've been around, but they didn't really get productized. I think it's coming. And I believe that this, verifiable data, the whole market gonna be bigger than oracles, gonna be bigger than index search. That's gonna be like the new smart contract paradigm is happening right now. It's growing right now, where people build application that is not like just trading tokens, but what you're using those tokens for, well, for trading tokens.
Yeah.
So we're gonna build all new categories of things that represent, more real life things. And I've seen there was a great presentation, Lian Horn, he was a CEO of Optimist back then, and always close to co-founder of Global and close to Ethereum Foundation. And he says, we have explored the memcoin space. We've done everything. There is no space for more memcoins. There's only that many memcoins you can create. So I think it's really time to build utility, and this all pieces of the puzzle falls in place. It's legal, it's scalable, and now we can connect it to, or soon you will be able to connect it to Web2, and we're going to have an explosion of new ideas. The same way we have a DeFi summer or an NFT summer, we're going to see a lot of those applications coming soon.
I want to ask you about your Polish soul. What do you think about Eastern European presence in the blockchain field? How can you evaluate the Polish blockchain ecosystem, and in general, like what is your opinion on this point?
Poland is definitely a very important point on the map. And even there is a lot of guests on Verifiable Summit, so that's already not a blockchain, but a cryptography space, interconnected, but it's not exactly the same. So a lot of people say, hey, there's not many more people, like conferences in London are not that much bigger than those in Warsaw. They're of course bigger, but not that much bigger. There's a lot of people coming from US or from many, somewhere on the road, coming either to the conference or just, working remotely, and they say, "Wow, there's so much going on in Warsaw, right? There's so much going on in Poland, or there's so much going on in Central Europe or Central Eastern Europe." And we know there's a lot of people from Ukraine came to Poland, a lot of people from Belarus, so we kind of becoming this hub.
It becomes bigger.
Like every company I co-founded, there was several people from Ukraine or Belarus or both. So that's important, I think, to mention. I'm gonna be talking about Poland, but also something to keep in mind. So on one hand, it's great and it's a very exciting place because there's so many people like working on great companies like ZK-Sync would be a great example. We have several developers here, and many other companies have
product designer
and there's a lot of those people working for those companies hidden that you not necessarily know about, not necessarily meet at the conference. They're just doing great work, and that's great. That being said, I'm always a little I wish we've seen more products coming from Poland. I think we have now a few very interesting projects. We have Redstone,
like yours,
like vlayer, of course, but also Redstone. I'm pretty sure I can think of something else. Aleph Zero would be another great example, and few smaller ones. There's Golem also. It feels there could be more, and I wish there would be more. There's very few people doing marketing in Poland, right? You're a noble exception.
I know.
And it really, when you go to those big events like if Bangkok or somewhere, and you meet all those different people, doing all those different roles in those companies, you realize like, yeah, we ain't gonna be able to hire, marketing. We ain't gonna be able to hire sales. We ain't gonna be able to hire DevRel, who has experience in the Web3 space from Poland, right?
Yeah.
It just there's maybe there's one or two.
It's quite
but
difficult
that's it,
now.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's sad, and I really wish there was more founders and really that to have the balls to go out. Oh yeah, I missed the ramp. Obviously, it was a big. I think there was more people. So I know the founders of Ramp. They had the balls to go big and build, and there was many projects in. There were. I think they were the first or one of the first in this. Created this soft space, and there was several other projects, but they had the balls to go big and everything. And I wish there was more founders like that and more projects, and maybe I could work for one. I wouldn't need to build my own. And I think there is still a great amount of work to be done. Technically, the quality of engineers we have is absolutely top of the game, but I wish there was everything else as well.
More founders, more projects.
More founders, more projects, more marketing, more sales, more, And even, that happens a lot in Polish community. When I talk to those great engineers, they so much undervalue work of others.
Yeah.
And they just don't understand that if they want to work for the great projects, you need to have great salesmen. And maybe, great business developer guy, maybe he doesn't understand all the, mathematics and all the code shaping and delivery and smart contracts. But if he's not there, then your product is not selling and your product is not selling. You cannot scale, you can only do that much of get that far with the product without great BD team. And that's something I wish more people understand in Poland.
Thanks for your vision. And the last question, what can you recommend to people interested in verifiable data and in general in what vlayer does and in all this verifiable data ecosystem? Where to start, what to listen to, what to watch?
Well, there is just so much, it's hard to tell.
Like the main
I think
recommendations.
I'll start with the product people. We talk about the product people. Let's talk about the product people first. I think if you're looking for a startup to build, then this is my official recommendation. Don't build, yet another layer 2. Don't build yet another DeFi project.
Too much L2s.
Don't build, what have been.
Yes.
Take a look at this verifiable data and the web proofs, email proofs, time travel, teleport. If you use vlayer, if you don't want to use vlayer, use something else. It's not, that important. But the important thing is there's this new revolution coming, and I think it's really important. Like we have a bunch of ideas what to build, and those ideas have to be tried out, right? And I don't know which one gonna stick, which one gonna be,
dead.
Turns out to be stupid idea, right? But you never know until you kind of test it, start to sell to someone and build it. I think it's really exciting, and it's hard for me to think about anything else as exciting in the blockchain space coming in the upcoming years. There's a lot of other stuff happening. The stable coins become big and gonna go mainstream. That's gonna be another trend that's gonna happen in the next year. But there's nothing to build there. There's no business to be built there, right? Like if you're a small startup founder, right? If you're a big player, if someone who already have users, it's gonna be a great way to monetize. Maybe you already have a stable coin. You can sell it to big players that don't have it or whatever, right? But if you're a small startup founder, it's going to be super crowded space tomorrow. It's already becoming super crowded, but it's going to be even more crowded. It's going to be like layer 2 all over again. There's going to be 100 stable coins, and everybody's going to be, which one is that again? So that's an example of exciting things that's going to happen in the blockchain space in the upcoming years, but something I wouldn't personally be excited about, spending my next 5 years working on. So I think that verifiable data is really the way to go and really figuring out. It's just happening right now. So if you're a Solidity developer, I think the recommendation is not that much different. Like look into verifiable data because that's going to be really exciting and everything in the DeFi, it's all, reshuffling of all those data. It doesn't mean, the things doesn't happen and DeFi spaces stand still. But again, it's not as full of opportunities. Yeah. It's a big players game now, right? So I think it's really exciting, again, to look at the verifiable data. So if you're into mathematics, I think it might be beneficial to learn about the mathematics and see if you can help with those basic fundamental stuff. There is I wouldn't know where to start. There's a lot of white papers to read. There's a lot of stuff to read. So it's really hard to tell. One thing I can advertise is I have a ZK Marek channel on YouTube. That's for engineers who want to get the basic understanding of the mathematics. It wouldn't be fair not to mention ZK Podcast and ZK Summit. So they are the biggest player.
Yeah, they are doing great
things in ZK and wider cryptography space as well.
Yeah.
So they're definitely to be recommended. But yeah, there is a few books. There is a Moon Math.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Guys, I'll leave all Marek's links under this video, and you can check his YouTube channel and also his Twitter, LinkedIn, so you can follow him and ask. Yeah, can they ask you something?
Absolutely. I'll be excited to answer all your questions.
Yeah, so thank you very much for your time. See you in the next videos. Bye.
Thank you.